Welcome everybody to our March Hug. That's our HubSpot user group for clients and customers of HubSpot who work in the B2B technology industry here in the USA. Today we have one of our PPC specialists, Mary Anne here. She's our Google Ads guru, and she's going to talk about how B2B tech marketers like you can increase your CTR, click-through rate, lower your CPC, cost per click in Google Ads, get more clicks for less money. There we go. All right, so who am I? I'm Jen. I'm the owner of Kiwi. We're a HubSpot Platinum partner here. We're headquartered out of Cleveland, but we have employees all over the country. And we work with growing B2B tech companies, which is why this is a topic that we're so passionate about here. We've been running the Hug for a couple years now. We have events every quarter. And I'll let Mary Anne introduce herself on the next slide.
Hi, I'm Mary Anne. I have been in digital advertising for 17 years. I started in Google Ads long ago when it was, most people didn't even know what it was. My specific focus is Google Ads and Bing, and then paid social, LinkedIn, Facebook. So primarily all paid ads. I do connect with SEOs and content writers so we can all make magic together, but primarily paid ads is what I do. And I live in Florida and I've lived here all my life, so probably will never leave. I love the beach. That's me.
All right, so we had some questions come in advance. So the first few slides here are going to be easy ones that we gave Mary Anne to prepare in advance, but don't let that deter you. Go to that chat panel, put in any questions that you have about running Google Ads at your company, and Mary Anne will be sure to get around to answering those shortly. So the first one that came in is, should we bid on our own company name? Like, let's hope we're ranking #1 in Google already for our company name. Is it worth it to also then pay on our branded keyword like that?
Mostly I say yes. Brand keywords are usually a low investment. They usually won't cost you much because they're your own words. And you can control the messaging and you can change up creative quicker than organic can catch up. Another thing that I have actually learned is that you can find so much about your audience too and what terms they're searching for. Real life example. There was a client I had, and we had found in the search terms report, it was the brand word plus, is it worth it? So people are searching, is this product worth it? Should I buy this product? And so that is a research type question. And that's when you can serve up a special ad with like that. We create a key ad group for those keywords, and it was, is this worth it? And then around that theme, we had a landing page that talked about the value of the subscription, and then an offer for a free trial. So that is a way that you can get people in that funnel that you'd never expect. And then the main reason I say bidding on your brand term is because if you have competition that is likely to bid on your brand, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, that's a good follow-up question. How legal and or ethical is it to bid on a competitor's company name?
It is both legal and ethical. And now what's not ethical is to say you are that advertiser. You will get shut down for that. But you can absolutely say that, check us out. We are an alternative. You can bid on that keyword, your competitor word plus alternative. Or if someone's trying to compare two brands, something like that, absolutely. And, as long as you're not using deceptive marketing tactics and you're showing yourself as an option and showing why we're better and why choose us, there's nothing wrong with that.
All right. How many keywords should we focus on? Is it 5? Is it 500? What's the magic number?
Yeah, I would say there's not a number that is exactly right for you. I think the number of keywords has become less important than it used to be. Google no longer, years ago when I started, it was every variation, every plural, every word you could possibly imagine. I mean, we would launch campaigns with thousands of keywords. It doesn't have to be like that anymore. Really, Google's close variants handles a lot of that. But what you want to focus on is that you've covered your product in all the possible ways you can describe your product. Some products only are, it's like the one type, and that's what it is. Say you are 3D printing or whatever. That's what you do, is 3D printing. You can, kind of say it in other ways, but there's other products that have lots of different ways that people can describe that product. And so, like, for instance, you have sofas, right? You have sofas, you have couches, you have love seats. There's so many ways you can say that. So you want to make sure that you cover that, plus like colors and all of those things. So it really matters on who you are and what you do. And so what I would recommend is create an exhaustive list and then forecast all of them in the Google Ads tool, which is very useful because you can see which keywords in your list are going to cost money and which ones aren't going to cost you money at all. So the ones that say zero are likely maybe not worth it because there's not any search volume for them, and it's just going to waste your time and make your account harder to manage. So if there are too many keywords for you to be able to handle, and your budget doesn't allow them, I would narrow down to the most critical.
I didn't think you were going to give me a magical answer, but I appreciate the reasoning behind it here. All right, next slide, please. Okay. Some keywords are cheap, but some keywords are really expensive.
Yes.
What if our non-branded keywords, so the words that are not our company name, what if they're just really expensive and they're going to blow our budget right away?
Okay. That's a great question. I've actually seen CPCs that are higher than I'd ever expect them to be. $75, $100, $150. Lawyers, law keywords. And what happens with that is that, if you look at those very expensive keywords, they usually have high competition, but also high ROI. So it's very similar to like market and demand. Something's going to cost you a lot of money if it's going to end up making you a lot of money. So, that's a really tricky place to be when you are dipping your toes in Google Ads and you don't have $100 per click to spend. Most keywords, I'd say, range, on average, no more than like maybe $10, $15 for most industries. Sometimes you'll have one or two keywords that are very high, like $30, $40. And in a lot of cases, I just say don't bid on that keyword. It's probably not worth it because there's so much competition. So I would focus on keywords that appear to be closest to commercial intent and are likely to deliver leads. So just don't bid on keywords and, just because they're expensive. Really think about that keyword and if you're willing to pay for it. There's always other options. And also, if in general all of your keywords are going to be too expensive, then there's other channels that I would look at, other tactics, LinkedIn and other places that are going to be more affordable for you.
All right, I see Nina posted a question in the chat here. We'll get to that in the end. Be more like Nina. Post your questions in the chat. We got plenty of time to answer them here. So in regards to spending, what's the minimum budget that you really recommend somebody commit to this to see results? Are we talking $500 a month or $10,000 a month?
Again, this is hard to say a very specific. It's very advertiser and industry specific. So I know everyone always wants to know this information. I think there's percentages you can look at, like lead generation versus maybe brand awareness on LinkedIn versus Google Ads, and creating that percentage, like maybe 60% lead gen, 40% brand awareness, something like that. But spending more doesn't always mean you'll get better results. It's easy to spend money on pay-per-click. That's just one part. The other part is your content, your landing page, your offer strategy. One big mistake I see advertisers make is pouring all their budget into paid media and not giving any budget to content creation. So if you have the budget and you say, okay, I have $30,000 a month to spend on Google Ads. Okay, but have you invested that money first in your content? Because that is where you're going to see the results. And if you just throw a bunch of money in Google Ads, the quicker you're going to end it. So really think about it as a strategy. And a lot of times the money you start out with spending isn't always the money you end up spending 6 months down the road once you've optimized and really found the keywords that are working for you. So sometimes that you kind of see that peak at the first month, like, okay, let's cast a wide net and then reel it back in and see what you and see like where we should really focus. So definitely use the Google Ads forecasting tool or whatever tool you might have. You might have a third-party tool that you use to forecast, and really use that as your judge to see how much money you should be spending.
So you've been in the industry a long time here. What's the most common mistake you see people making with Google Ads?
Thinking that if we build it, they will come. And I know that sounds so cliche, but I have seen so many tech websites and companies that look all the same stock images, the same solutions, services menu. You have to stand out. You have to know who you are and why you are the best, and reveal that in a way that's very focused on them and not you. If there are hundreds of companies competing for that top spot. And it is, like I said, it is so easy to spend money on pay per click. And if you are not really careful about the message that you're sending out, you'll probably end up quitting because you're not getting the right people in the funnel.
So is there ever a time where you wouldn't recommend PPC? It's just not going to be successful for a particular type of client based on whatever criteria.
Really, I think going back to the last question and about the mistake, if your website and content strategy is not prepared to take on traffic that will be engaged, then you need to fix that first. Don't just jump into pay-per-click when you just launched a website and you do not know your audience, you don't know who you're speaking to, what you're giving them, your goals. All of those things are extremely important. So sometimes it's not doing it. It's just waiting to do it until it's the right time, when you know who you are and you know who your audience is. Probably another one would be if you have very low budget. I know we talked about expensive keywords, but dipping your toes in pay-per-click can work. But if you have a really low budget, a few dollars per day, I would not use it in Google. For some advertisers, $500,000 seems like a lot of money. But when you break that out over a 30-day period, it ends up being $16, $32 a day. And when your clicks are up to $10 a day, possibly, that you could only get 3 clicks a day for that. Is that where you want to invest your money? And if you really, so that ends up also, if you're not willing to go into the amount of budget that is being forecasted, all things being equal, you're looking at your keywords and you decided these are the keywords I want, and this is where you're up against, then I would consider some other avenues, or at that point just saying, I'm going to go after these 2 keywords. These are the most important keywords and these are the ones. Otherwise, I would not spread your budget thin. Also, probably if the cost to acquire is higher than the cost of the product. If you're selling a $20 item, it's going to be hard to make that work unless you're selling hundreds a day, because it's going to cost you a lot. So think about, what if your cost to gain a new customer is too much for what you're selling, then there might be other avenues for you to choose. And I think one of the biggest ones that no one really thinks about that much is if your sales team is not prepared to take on new inquiries or they're slow. I recently had an account I was working on, and they did not know what was happening to their contacts after they were created. That's a big red flag. CRMs like HubSpot can help you automate those, like for workflows to get new contacts and to nurture streams and to warm them up. Or if like a demo request, the right people getting notified so it makes that happen quickly. You can't just get people to fill out these forms or getting them to want a demo or a free trial and then never following up with these people, because it ends up, you really are just wasting your money.
Yeah, so the next question here is already on the screen, actually. I know you said you shouldn't do PPC if you've just launched your website, but let's say you have a website for a while, you've gotten a lot of traffic, you might be a candidate for retargeting or remarketing. I've heard the term used interchangeably. Basically, Google will then serve up ads, most likely the banners, on other websites. You know, you go to Warby Parker, look at one pair of glasses, and it stalks you for 3 months afterwards.
Yep.
Who would be the best candidates for a retargeting or a remarketing campaign?
So first, I would say making sure you have enough site traffic regularly in order to actually be eligible for retargeting. There are minimums. So for display, I think it's 300. So you have to have at least 300 people sort of in your audience pool in order to retarget to those people. So it gets difficult when you say you have 3 services and you want to say, I want to retarget all the people that landed on this service page, and add to come back and do some sort of action. Well, you can say, oh, well, I've gotten 5,000 site visitors to my site this month. Okay, but how many people have actually landed on that page? How many people have seen that content? If you're just retargeting general people that have been to your website, you can probably have enough, but it's a matter of, Warby Parker, for instance, they have probably thousands of people that visit their website a day. So they have plenty of audience in their pool in order to show ads to. So if you set it up and you don't have enough, your ads just won't show. They won't even be eligible. I also think you need to know why you're retargeting. I get asked this question all the time. Like, oh, can we do retargeting? It's like, okay, but why? Like, why are we doing retargeting? What are you hoping to achieve by showing your ads to these previous site visitors? What is your messaging? If you've landed them on the piece of content the first time and they did not convert, what's your strategy the next time? What are we going to show them this time? Should we go towards another content offer? Should you give something ungated? Should you, so you have to answer those questions. What would be the logical path and what you really want them to do when they come back? Because you are paying for them to come back. And also when you have the budget. I have clients all the time that want to do retargeting. And I say, okay, well, what's your budget? And it's like, well, we got to pull that from the search campaign. So that, you're really robbing Peter to pay Paul in that instance. So I don't think you should always take budget away from lead generation campaigns and choke them to pay for retargeting. In some cases, I make it work, but it's not ideal. So, if you have to pull significant budget away from those new, fresh audiences that you're trying to get and get lead generation, then I would consider waiting until you had the budget for it. Unless, of course, your search campaigns are not performing.
I know we've talked technical stuff up till this point, but let's get into the copywriting realm here. What are the best CTAs you've seen people use, and what are the worst?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it depends on the tactic. I've seen a really good variety of CTAs work in Google Ads. In paid social, it's usually a little bit more specific. Like you want to use like a checklist, a how-to, those kind of things work the best. And a low value offer will usually get you little to no leads. Like if it's not exciting to you, it's not going to be exciting to people that don't know you. It's like a first date. You have to be attractive in order for someone to give you their phone number, right? So one thing I've seen work a lot, and especially software, is free trials or free, something that they can test out the waters and see how it works. Sometimes free trials are a little bit hard to set up, but if you have the ability to set up a free trial, those tend to do well to get people interested. But overall, I like offers that are high value, useful, shareable, something that really helps the user, like an assessment. If you can download a quiz that help you determine if you're likely to get hacked, that would be eye-opening for someone who, is in the market for security software. And, just thinking about that customer and what your customers are typically asking, and see how you can make that into a high value asset. I would say the worst and I'm saying the worst in a sense that really at the end result would be like a data sheet and a case study. They do work to drive leads. They do very frequently, but they almost never lead to actual customer acquisition. In my opinion, data sheets and case studies should be ungated. It will likely lead to higher engagement because people can see that they can learn about you and that your information is free for them to see who you really are and what you do. Because not everything has to be gated. You can be a thought leader, and I think people forget that. But really think about something that's going to be high value and what your customers really want. And that will be the best CTA for you.
All right, so we've done that, right? We've written some great ad copy, we've gotten them to click, but now you're on the landing page. How do we actually get them to give up their contact info, sign up for that demo? What should we be doing on the landing pages to get that final conversion?
So, people expect a lot out of websites these days. So a great headline that confirms to the visitor they are in the right place immediately. So that headline is more important than you think it is. Making sure that that click, someone lands on it and it's like, oh, yep, I'm in the right spot. I also think the image, whatever image you put on, whether it's the text, the headline and the images behind it, making sure that that image is real for the audience. Once they saw a landing page with two people shaking hands and smiling, and the product was for fraud detection, and it just didn't add up for me. You want someone to see themselves in those images, and humans do work a lot on websites for sure, as long as they are sending the right message. Definitely, and kind of piggyback off that is your audience. Who is your audience? Speak to them. If you serve small businesses, make that clear. If you serve enterprise, make that clear. A couple ways you can do that would be some logos. If you work with logos that people recognize, that helps you get legitimacy to your brand, but also shows the size of the companies that you work with, to give them an idea of whether or not that person that land on your site is swimming in the right pool. They can afford a service that is similar to these other companies are using. Social proof also is a good one. Saying something like, our customers have seen productivity increase by 30%. That's a solid number that someone can say, yeah, I need to increase my productivity. 30% sounds amazing. Love that. And then saying how you do that, right? An explanation of your product, your services, benefits to the user, how you solve big problems, etc. And doing it in a way that is graphically broken up too. You don't just want to have it full of text. You want to have some icons, maybe some different blades, having sort of something that's a little bit different in interest. Think about your colors and what's appealing. And then one of the most important things is a clear path to conversion. What you want people to do when they land there. You have to let them know what you want them to do, whether it's downloading something, submitting a form, whether it's contacting, calling. That is important, because it's like, we're not just saying like, feel free to browse our website. No, we want to say, do this. So those are probably the most successful things.
Let's say you've done all that, right? You have great ad copy, you think you have a killer landing page, but then it doesn't work out as well as you think it's going to. Like, should you use that data, make a knee-jerk reaction and be adjusting every day, or should you let things run for a week, a month before tweaking?
I feel like there's always more heavy lifting at the beginning. At first you're sort of like figuring out, okay, where's my click-through rate falling? What keywords are causing that low click-through rate? Am I spending money on the right keywords? Making sure that, you start out with a list of negative keywords that that you want to, definitely, or you are not this, you're this. But then you end up finding keywords in the search terms report that you can easily eliminate. And those things can usually get you to where you want quicker. And those things should be done in the first week, but then ongoing. I'd say every couple of days, you want to wait for things to sort of work their way through things. Big changes like offers, copy, like, is my offer not working? Is my copy not working? I would say give it 2 to 3 weeks to really have enough time to get that activity to know, And, every year WordStream puts out a benchmark list to say like what good benchmark for click-through rate, CPC, and conversion rate. So find your industry within that. If you just search like WordStream benchmarks, you'll find the document, and I use it all the time every year that it comes out. So if you're in the tech industry, you can see, okay, an average click-through rate might be 5 to 6%. Where are you falling? Are you 3%? If so, then yeah, look at your offer. Your copy, right? If it's your conversion rate, look at your landing page. And then if it's your CPC, what are you bidding on and what is driving that up? So I would really, after all of those efforts and really thinking about the different needles you can, or the different like levers you can pull for different metrics, and it's still not working, give yourself 60 to 90 days at least before abandoning it altogether. Because if you have a software or something that has a long sales cycle, you might be surprised in that additional 30 days what might happen.
I actually did some quick Googling while you were talking and popped the link to that WordStream report in the chat there. I also saw Brian asked a question. We will definitely get to that. I think we have 2 more slides here to go before we field those audience questions, so be sure to put those in now. PPC is most often associated with lead gen, right? You want somebody to fill out the form for an offer so you can then get to them until they want to buy, right? But what are some other ways you've seen people use PPC beyond lead gen, maybe just for brand awareness, for example?
Brand awareness is definitely something that, and that's where, going back to those competitor words, that's a way you can get your brand out there and eyes on your brand. Also, I like to, anytime if you're going to an event, trade show, something like that, if you're going to be at that trade show, bidding on those keywords for the event and creating a landing page about where you're going to be, if you have any speakers, signing up for a giveaway, all those things so that people already know you're going to be there. And that usually, I like to do that about 2 weeks out from the event, and then usually keep it live a few days after, and then it'll kind of trail off and you can pause it. So those have been very successful to get some brand awareness around events. And like I said, competitor targeting, if users are searching for competitor words, then it's likely then they'll at least see your name. And if you have anything to offer those competitors or those people searching, then that's a bonus, giving them an ungated piece about who you are.
Now, get out your crystal ball and tell me. We got another question here. Sorry. We're talking HubSpot specifically. What are some of your favorite HubSpot tools that you can use in conjunction with Google Ads to kind of monitor everything within that platform?
So the main reason I use HubSpot is to look at the leads and the quality of the leads. The fact that I can go in there and see, oh, I got a lead today. What did it look like? What keyword did it come from? Who was this person? What did they download, or what did they interact with? It's so useful because we can group out, okay, here's the good leads, here's the bad leads. What trends can we find with the bad leads? What did they fill out? What did they do? What keywords did they come from? And then you can really use that information to optimize. You can see that this contact form is getting lots of downloads. So if I'm looking at Google Ads, I'm saying, oh, wow, we got like 5 contact us last week. That's great, right? Then you go into HubSpot and you see that 3 out of 5 of those are job seekers. It helps you rethink your keywords and your messaging and your actual cost per acquisition. And another thing I like to do is look at, when you have a specific page that's only pay-per-click, you can go into the data on that landing page and see how many people landed on that form and then how many actually submitted it. So, okay, I'm driving all these people to this form, this page, but my submission rates are low. So that's an indication that let's change up this page. So people are getting there, they're interested, but then they're not willing to fill it out. And then you can think, should I shorten my form? Should I make this a check? Should I make this a drop down instead of an optional? Should I take away a field that's not necessary? All of those things that you can use to test and get your campaigns better optimized.
I think my crystal ball question is next. Here we go. The AI revolution. I mean, are we just going to be paying Chat GPT to auto run all our campaigns here in the future, or how's that going to play out?
So yeah, I have not access to my crystal ball yet. I don't know if I've shaken my 8 ball, but I would say I personally would like to think that computers will never replace instinct, knowledge, experience. Tools like Chat GPT are helpful to generate ideas and content, but they should not be used 100% of the time. There needs to be some originality to everything you do. And we don't know what's going to happen in a few years down the road when everyone's been using this and all the content starts to look and appear the same. Google could snap us right back into reality, and just like they do with every SEO update, and end up pulling pages that are clearly not original content. On the Google Ads side, I have seen so many issues with a lot of the automated campaigns, and not in the bidding strategies. I do feel very confident in Google's bidding strategies, and they've gotten a lot better than they used to be. But some of their campaigns, like Performance Max, if you've ever used a Performance Max campaign, you've probably already paused it. If you haven't paused it, then you might want to look at your data and see if you should pause it. That and smart campaigns and a lot of broad match keywords that are being automatically matched to keywords that really don't make sense. And unfortunately, there are plenty of advertisers that use these tools and do not realize how much money they're wasting. So I do believe that AI will get better in certain ways, but I still feel like there's so much human element that has to be there, because we are the creativity that computers will never be.
I think it's finally time for audience questions here. We have 2 so far, but plenty of time for more. Nina,
Okay.
She works in a very niche industry here. I know Nina. It's a PDF accessibility software, so narrow audience here. She wants to know, is it better to have fewer headlines that are each more unique, or to have more headlines that are similar to one another?
Well, so I mean, Google gives you a max of 15. And every time I do a variety of headlines, I feel like I get penalized for them because they're not closely related to the keywords within the ad group. So I would say focus on the keywords in that ad group and matching them as closely to those headlines. I think you can take a few of them and use them to put benefits focused things in there, but for some reason, Google will prefer your ad if you have them more related to the words in your headlines and having, I'd say, at least 10 total. I mean, Google's going to recommend the max of 15, but I wouldn't do less than 7 or 8. I wouldn't. I hope that helps.
Brian wants to know if you have any ideas for ways to increase the impression share.
Yeah, so it really depends on if you have. First, you want to look at your budget. Make sure you're not budget constrained. The other thing you want to look at is your bidding strategies. And are you limited in that in any way? And also your bid too. So if you are using like a manual bid, and it could be there's a handful of keywords that are driving down that impression share. So I always say the 80-20 rule, 20% of your keywords drive 80% of your traffic. So if you have, the key, it could be just one or two keywords that's driving it all down. And if that's the case, a lot of times I'll create sort of a high volume, low volume campaign where I have all of the really competitive keywords in one campaign and everything, all the other keywords in another campaign, and giving them separate budgets and separate guardrails so that you can manage those impression shares differently and really boost the keywords that are the low-hanging fruit. And sometimes there's I will say I've had a challenge on a lot of times raising impression share on highly competitive words or words that are just not really right for you. So think about that too, if the keywords are really right for you.
All right, I think people are being shy in the chat, but I can ask you a question of my own.
Okay.
What's a question that you get asked all the time that we haven't asked you yet today?
Gosh, I feel like I've been asked a lot. I feel like I get asked a lot about reporting and, okay, I have all this data. What does it mean? What does it really mean? And that is a hard one for marketers to answer, especially ones like me who love numbers and love data. And you have to figure out what's the most important thing. And that is unique to the advertiser, but it really comes down to communicating the objective and if you've met it. And also know that everything can be a test. You don't have to confidently say this won't work or this will work. And so if you're coming and you're saying, okay, well, we spent all this money, what now? Let's try something else. And so I think that that's something that is scary for people, is to say, okay, what now? And that's where sometimes you have to lean on the advice of people that have done it a lot and experience and say, we've tried this and it's worked. So it's hard for people that are not in the field all the time. And then Jocelyn has a question.
Yeah, I think we discussed this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But we can rephrase it because I know this is a very popular one.
Just minimum budget. So if I'm just talking to someone brand new, I say, don't go any lower than $750, $1,000 a month in whatever you're doing. That I know that sounds, and that is comes with a lot of caveats right there, because that is completely based on the industry and the advertiser. But in most cases, the lower your budget, the less clicks you're going to get. And over a period of time, you're going to say, what happened? What happened here? You're not getting enough traffic to your site to really know what's working and what's not working. So if you don't have enough budget, either condense it into a smaller period of time. So you have an annual budget, condense it into a smaller period of time where you can use that budget faster and get faster learnings. Think about, are your users active Monday through Friday? Maybe you're only ads, maybe you don't have ads on the weekends. Maybe you only are bidding in certain regions that you're likely to get, business from. So think about ways that you can take that small budget and make it work for you.
I know in the past when we've surveyed people in the B2B software and tech industry, the number one service that they outsource above everything else is PPC. Do you have any recommendations for people who want to try the DIY route, or is it really just too technical, you're going to waste a lot of money. You should really consider finding a freelancer or an agency.
Well, there's a lot of good education tools out there to help you. I would definitely, like, a LinkedIn Learning has some great videos to help you learn, and I would take Google's advice, also with a grain of salt, and lean on some good experts, and prepare yourself for what you should do before just throwing a bunch of keywords out there and hoping for the best. So get a little bit of education before you do, because so many times that happens, and then 6 months down the road, they've paused and they don't know what's working and what's not working.
Good advice. I think the chat is quiet for now, but if we go to the last slide here, we can wrap up while saying a big thank you to Mary Anne for answering all these questions here. As I mentioned at the beginning, we do have our B2B Tech Hugs once a quarter. They're always on the second Tuesday at noon. So that means the next one is June 13th at noon. Christina Kay, she's going to present about advanced HubSpot automation strategies. So all about workflows and marketing operations, very specifically within HubSpot. So that will be good if you're trying to kind of up your technical skills within the platform. The presentation is being recorded. We're going to send out a link to the video as soon as I upload it to YouTube, as well as the slide deck. So you'll get that automatically in your email, hopefully later today. But if you do have any other questions about PPC or tech marketing in general, obviously feel free to reach out at kiwicreative.net. Hope to see you guys at the next hug. Bye-bye.